As we look at this painting by the German artist Caspar David Friedrich, entitled Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog, it makes me think of the journey every person takes, the journey of life. In a sense, we are all wanderers trying to navigate through life, not knowing of the uncertainties, which is the fog, that lie before us. It is how we navigate these uncertainties that define who we are and what kind of life we will discover. Upon retiring a few years back, I took some time to reflect on my journey so far. It was eye-opening and quite difficult at times, recalling the events and experiences that were fun and pleasurable, remembering family and friends that would share those good times, and thinking on my life's work and achievements was very satisfying. However, I also had to remember the passing of those loved ones, the rough times, the failures and disappointments, things that were difficult to think about. I don't quite know if it's an even tally, the good versus the bad, but it is what got me here and shaped who I am, for better or for worse. Then I had a where to from here moment, what lies ahead for me. Throughout my life, I knew about philosophy, studied about it in high school, but never studied it in earnest. I had various beliefs on religion, politics, nature, art, etc., but I guess I never gave deep thought on why I had those beliefs. I just believed stuff that people I loved, friends, ministers, and teachers told me or believed, those things that made sense to me or benefited me. I was a curious sort of kid. I would question everything. I wanted to not only know things, but the where, who, when, how, and why of things I was learning. It was not until my 40s, when my world started to crumble, that I started to recall questions what my life was about, what the world in general was about. In a short span of time, I lost a job I had for 25 years, lost my best childhood friend and cousin to suicide, and was watching my 32-year marriage disintegrate. Abandoned by my best friend, was watching my mother suffer through her last years, and was at odds with my church. I was not in a good place. I lost myself somewhere along the line. There were bright moments, but the dark side was winning. My days were filled with the black dog, which was depression. To top it off, I was finding comfort in alcohol, making things much worse, leading to a major metabolic disorder. I started studying the subject of philosophy to try to make sense of my world. I began to think of what would be different in my life if I had known of this approach to life, this way of processing situations and events when I was younger, in my teens, in my 20s, in my 30s. Like the wanderer in the painting, Wander Above the Sea of Fog, looking out over his future, seeing the mountains to climb and the cloudy valley he must go through to reach them. We have all faced and do face this ambiguity, which is uncertainty, in the paths we take. Would the knowledge and embracement of this way of thinking make my life better? Brought the contentment sooner? Would it have altered my life? I do think it would have led me to make better decisions and be more mindful of the people around me, which would have made for better relationships. But that is the past. What about the future? I began to think of the young people of today, particularly my grandchildren. What kind of world are we leaving them? Are we preparing them appropriately and effectively to deal with the unknowns and uncertainties they will face as they grow up? As we can't always advise them what to do in certain situations or deal with unexpected events, for we won't always be there, and we don't know what those situations and events may be. It is important we prepare them with the knowledge of right and wrong, appropriate behaviors, and ways of thinking, processing those situations and events to arrive at best case scenarios that will help them achieve their goals and dreams and have a content and happy life. Unfortunately, I will not be able to leave my children or grandchildren a bucket full of money or assets. I am content with that, as I believe we all suffer from an overabundance of stuff. What we all have lost sight of in the progression of the generations is the quality aspects of life. Looking out for one another, being content with what we have, respect for self and others, being attentive to one another, communicating well, and being responsible citizens. This compendium of things I have learned, which is wisdom, is my gift to my beautiful grandchildren to hopefully help them muddle through their lives with less grief and a degree of contentment and happiness. I also dedicate this to my wife, Stephanie, with whom I've shared the last 20 years. Through thick and thin, she was an ever-present source of love, ideas, and encouragement. She has truly helped me to become wiser and a contented person. I have read and studied the subject of philosophy, the love of wisdom, for 20 years, seeking the wisdom of the ages. It has helped me tremendously in deciphering the changing world in business, politics, religion, and the natural world in which we live. I neatly developed my own categorizations of the areas of philosophy, which is another time, another place, that allow me to make sense of the wisdom I was studying. I then realized that knowing all this philosophy was helpful, but can't change anything in or around me. I did not really need to study philosophy. I needed to seek and master wisdom, which is totally different. I needed to take the wisdom I have learned and live it. The only philosophy that matters is my own. It speaks to who I am. As I changed gears from just studying philosophy, the love of wisdom, to actually seeking and applying wisdom, I researched how to accomplish this, if it is even possible. Reading a rather large number of books and articles in varied areas of life, and watching programs on television and taking a few online courses, a matter of words and deeds began to form, a sort of guide path to what I was seeking. The words and the understanding of their exact true meaning was very important. Taking all the skills and concepts I learned and used in business and applying them to everyday life was also important. As the system developed a what must I know and what must I do and what must I be to seek wisdom, I noticed a change in the way I was looking at the world, the way I processed things, the way I thought, and began to affect my behaviors. I actually, for the first time in my life, was content with who I was, where I am, and what was going on around me. It is bringing me happiness and a degree of serenity. My search is working, at least for me.